Hello, good game. Welcome back, ghouls and goblins. I hope you're all having a magical day. Thanks so much for taking the time to support the channel. I heard about this new set of cards coming to Arena. About 800 of them. Holy Toledos! Rest in peace, my wild card collection, my gold collection, and my remaining gems, and most likely my monthly balance for the budget is going to go out the window because Historic Horizons is coming to Arena. It was delayed, which is actually great news for me because it gives me a chance to make some of this content. We're going to break down in sections a multiple video series, most likely, of the new cards that you can look forward to. And again, my speculation as to the new system updates, that new system that the whole game's going to be running on will allow for, whether it's multiple player brawl or two-headed giant or maybe even multiple player historic brawl. Is this for me? So of course, today we're going to break down the new digital only cards. These cards will only appear in MTG Arena, nowhere else, which is super exciting. So breaking down the new cards, talking about what they might go with. Of course, remember that my historic background is not super limited, but there's a lot of things that I will miss out on, and I'll need your help to fill in those gaps. So don't be shy. Let me know what's up in the comments below. When I start diving into a card and you've got something to say, definitely take the time and say it. I'm super appreciative of everyone who is engaging within the channel. And with that being said, like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out that link tree if you want to, get in and dirty. And let's get into it, right? All right, new digital only cards. There are 31, I believe, new digital only cards just in Arena, which is pretty cool. So the Faceless Agent is first up for 3 generic mana, a 2/1 Shapeshifter Changeling. This in and itself is very good. We've been playing party decks recently, and this allows it to grow, within not only a party deck in Historic, which, probably isn't super great, but so many other decks. There's elf decks, there's goblin decks, there's you name it. Tribal and historic is really what's up, and this Faceless Agent can just slip into any one of them, which is why I like it. This is a card that I think we're going to be seeing a lot of. It's a 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, seek a creature card type of the most prevalent card type in your library, right? So if we have an elf deck, we're going to search for an elf. If we have a dragon deck, searching for a dragon. And what's really cool is this can be a dragon. Coming to mind in standard, there is the Dragonkin Berserker. It costs 1 less to boast for each dragon you control, right? Stuff like this is really, really cool. So without spending too much time on it, Faceless Agent looks to be a fairly cool card. It's a common, not hard to get, and the value, like it's a 2/1 that draws another card that fills a tribal type. That doesn't seem too bad to me. Moving on, Baffling Defenses for 2 white, instant speed spell. Target creature's base power and toughness perpetually becomes 0. So no matter what happens that turn, back to 0. Back to 0, which is pretty cool. And, it's just a great way to shut down one of your opponent's baddies, as far as I'm concerned. Moving on now, we have Banalish Partisan for 2, a 1/2 human soldier with lifelink, and whenever you cycle another card, you may pay 1 generic, 1 white mana. If you do, return Banalish Partisan from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, and it perpetually gets +1/+0. So if you're unfamiliar with the perpetual mechanic, it means that it's an effect that will pre-exist other zone changes, grave, exile, bounce to your hand, flicker, whatever it happens to be. The perpetual ability will, persist through the transfer of zones, if you will. Lenin Sanctifier for 2. It's a 2/1 with lifelink. When Lenin Sanctifier enters the battlefield, choose a creature card type in your hand, and then it perpetually gains lifelink. That's very, very good. Who doesn't love a little lifelink? Lumbering Light Shield, 1/4 for 2. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals a non-land card from it at random, and it perpetually gains. This spell costs 1 more to cast, which is pretty groovy. A little bit of taxation. It's a nice defender. I'll allow it. Taiyo, Aegis Adept. You know, coming back to this Light Shield. You know, turn 2 Light Shield, turn 3. You know, Redain or Elite Spellbinder. Wouldn't be bad. Anyway, Aegis Adept for 4 mana, 4 loyalty, +1 up to 1 target creature gains base power and toughness. Base power and toughness becomes equal to its toughness, and it perpetually gains when this creature attacks, as though it didn't have defender. Okay, so let me just to reread this. This is the first time I'm actually looking at these cards here. +1 to try to discard my literacy out the window. Up to 1 target creature's base power and just base power perpetually becomes equal to its toughness. I see. Right. So if you have a 0/5, you know, it's going to become a 5/5, which is really cool. And then it can attack as if it didn't have defender, because most 0/5s, so to speak, will have defender. All right, deciphered the +1. Into the -2, conjure Lumbering Light Shield card onto the battlefield. Great, so we'll have to look for this other Light Shield card. Lumbering, oh, that's right beside it. Lumbering Light Shield. That's the card we just looked at as a -2. But it comes right into the battlefield, which is actually really cool. And then you're going to get that ETB, which is nice as well. So that's actually a pretty cool ability. I like that. -6, you get an emblem with at the beginning of your end step. Return target white creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You gain life equal to its toughness. Holy Toledos. That's actually pretty decent. That is not bad at all. Creature regeneration or recursion from the grave within white is nice. And then you're also gaining life all the time. Woof. The bummer is it's at your end step, so you're, you know, having to withhold your opponent's turn. It doesn't have haste on your upkeep. That would be cool, right? But it is what it is, right? Still very nice Planeswalker, and I think that'll see play for sure. Wingsteed Trainer for 4. It's a 2/3, and it enters the battlefield. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, conjure the Pegasus into your hand. Did we look at that Pegasus? Stormfront Pegasus, not yet. We'll keep an eye open for that as we progress through the videos and try to come back to this as we see it. This is a 2/3 for 4 that, you know, basically tutors a card into your hand. Depending on what that card looks like, it could be really, really good value. Into the blue now, Bounty of the Deep for 3 sorcery speed. If you have no lands in your hand, seek a land card and any other non-land card. Otherwise, seek 2 non-land cards. Well, hot dog, that's actually not too bad. Just seeking cards is great, especially if they're 2 non-land cards. I honestly do not mind that, right? Double tutor for 3 seems great. Eternal Grasp or Ethereal Grasp, for 3 mana, instant speed, tap target creature. That creature perpetually gains. This creature doesn't untap during your untap step, and you can pay X to untap this creature, or pay 8 to untap this creature. I think that's an 8, not an X. Seek is random, I believe, right? We'll take note on that. Someone pull that up for me. What Seek is? I think it's at random. Let me check really quick. We'll pull up the Google machine. We have access to it. I should know this, but I do want to make sure. Search your library. Oh no, that's not what we want. Where are you? Seek is a tutor ability that gets a card from your deck that fits a specific criteria. Tutors are a part of Magic, but Seek is an ability that grabs a random card from your deck, something that isn't reasonable to do in paper Magic, and that's why it's digital only. So it will be a random card that fulfills. So, you know, it's just gonna be 2 random non-lands. So it has to fulfill this, and it would be the non-lands, right? So if Conjure pulls a specific card into your hand from outside of your deck, outside of your sideboard, which is cool, and then the Seek will pull a card based on the criteria. In Bounty of the Deep, the criteria is non-land card. So it's pulling 2 lands, which is great. Sorry, 2 non-lands. And that's really cool. So moving on, before we confuse any more people, we talked about the Ethereal Grasp. Doesn't untap. We can, pay 8 to untap it. Or they would have to pay 8 to untap it, I guess, right? It's like, you would tap your opponent's creature, it doesn't untap, and then they can stick 8 mana into it to finally untap it. To clarify, just so we all understand this, Kagura the Tide's Fury for 4 mana, 4 loyalty, +1, conjure a Kraken card into your hand. We'll have to keep an eye open for that. +1, untap target creature or land, prevent all damage that would be dealt to it, and buy that permanent until your next turn. That's pretty cool. And then -3, you may sacrifice a Kraken if you do create an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token, right? So we can +1 for the Krakens into our hand, play the Kraken, -3 to make an 8/8. That's not too bad. And the +1, so you're preventing all the damage that it would do if you're doing it to your opponent's creature, and you're preventing all the damage it would take if you're doing it on your own creature. Cool, cool, cool. Mentor of Evos Isles for 3, a 2/1 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature card in your hand. It perpetually gains flying. That's pretty nice. Shoreline Scout for 1, a 1/1, and when Shoreline Scout enters the battlefield, you may exile a Merfolk card or a land card from your hand. If you do, conjure a tropical island card into your hand. That's really nice. I believe that is a Selesnya land. And as long as another Merfolk or an island has entered the battlefield under your control this turn, Shoreline Scout gets +1/+0. So that is so good in a Merfolk deck, right? That's really, really nice. Moving on, Tome of Infinity. For 3 mana, legendary artifact, pay 1, tap it, conjure a random card from Tome of Infinity's spellbook into your hand. It perpetually gains. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast this spell. What is the spellbook, right? So do we have a list of cards for the spellbook that we're going to probably have to keep an eye open on as well? And that's probably, again, why it's an arena only card, because I bet that is a hefty list and you couldn't put all those cards or all that text on a card for paper. So that's really, really interesting. I quite like that. Boneyard Aberration for 5, a 3/3. We're into black now. Skeleton Doggo with 3 heads. Look at this thing. That's crazy. When Boneyard Aberration dies, exile it. If you do, conjure 3 reassembling skeleton cards into your graveyard. Interesting. We're going to have to keep an eye open for those as well. Of course, it's a 3/3 for 5. Next up, Davriel Soul Broker for 4. Oh my gosh. This is going to take us a while to get through. It's very, very good. We're actually going to come back and touch on it in the end. For 4 mana, it's a 4/4 +1 until your next turn. Whenever an opponent attacks you and or a planeswalker you control, they discard a card. If they don't, they have to sacrifice an attacking creature. That's actually not that bad. That's honestly really good if they only have 1 attacker. Right now, they're not going to attack to keep their creature. -2, accept one of Davriel's offers, and then accept one of Davriel's conditions. So we're going to go over this list because it is long, and, again, a reason why it cannot be a paper card. -3, target creature perpetually gets -3/-3. Again, this is really easy for the client to take care of, right? All of the mechanics, seek, perpetuate, and conjure are all very good when the client handles it automatically. And of course, Davriel's Withering for 1, instant speed, target creature perpetually gets -1/-2. Very nice. Manor Guardian for 3 mana, 4/3. When it dies, each player seeks a non-land card seeks a non-land card with mana value 2 or less. Holy Toledo's. 4/3/3. I don't know if this is a good card. I think that might be a scam. Bladecrafter's Familiar for 2, a 1/1 with Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature card in your hand and it will perpetually gain Death Touch. Really cool stuff there. Submersive Advocate for 2, a 2/2, and we can pay 2 life to choose 1. Activate only once. Submersive Alakite becomes a human cleric. It gets +1/+2 and gains lifelink. Interesting. It becomes a Phyrexian. It gains +3/+3, gains trample, and whenever this creature is dealt damage, sacrifice that many permanents. Wow, interesting. That is definitely a card. Reckless Ringleader into red for 1 mana, a 1/1 with haste. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature card in your hand. It perpetually gains haste. That's good. That is very good. It's a rogue too, which is just dirt nasty. Scion of Shiv for 4, 3/3 flying dragon, pay 3, pump it by +1/+0 perpetually, which is great. You know, it's going to keep that always, right? Wanderer to Shiv Sarkhan, 4 loyalty, 4 mana, +1 dragon cards in your hand, perpetually gain. This spell costs 1 generic mana less to cast, and you may spend X mana rather than pay this spell's mana cost, where X is the mana value, right? So you're dumping the mana value down, and then you're nullifying which colors the dragons are, which is really cool stuff. 0, conjure a Siobhan dragon into your hand. We'll look at that later. -2 when it it deals 3 damage to target creature. Ooh, not the greatest, but it is good, I guess. Then we have Sarkhan Scorn for 3 instant speed. Sarkhan Scorn deals damage equal to the number of turns you have begun to target creature or planeswalker. What? It deals damage equal to the number of turns you have begun to target creature or planeswalker. That is so interesting. Target with spells and with attacks, I can assume. I might need clarification on this. Judge! Holy Toledo's. Mana Gorger Phoenix for 2, a 2/2 flying, cannot block. Whenever you cast a spell, if Mana Gorger Phoenix is in your graveyard, put a flame counter on it for each red mana that it was in that spell's mana cost. If Mana Gorger Phoenix has 5 or more flame counters on it, return it to the battlefield, and it perpetually gets +1/+1. Hot dog. That's a good card. Mana Gorger Phoenix looking tasty. Static Discharge for 2, sorcery speed. A static discharge deals X damage to any target where X is 3 plus the number of card counters on the discharge. Then put a perpetual counter on this card for each card named Discharge in your hand, library, and graveyard. Oh, wow. So for 2 mana, at sorcery speed, we are dealing 7 damage. Oh, no. So you cast it. The first one does 3. The second one does 4. The third one does 5. And the fourth one does 6, correct? Because the first one doesn't have a counter on it, right? So you deal 3, and then the next one deals 3 plus the charge counter. And the one after that will deal, and then it gains a charge counter, right? I got it. I think I got it. Anyways, moving on. Frey Elise Sky Shroud Partisan for 3 mana, 4 loyalty. That is good. That's really nice value. +1, untap up to 1 target elf. That elf and a random elf creature in a card in your hand perpetually get +1/+1. Neat. -1, seek an elf card. That's pretty cool. And -6, conjure a Regal Force card into the battlefield, right? So we're going to have to take a look and try to find that Regal Force. All the conjure cards will be external to Arena's deck building. You know, when you highlight this card in Arena, I'm sure it will show you that card, like in the side. But, you know, that's not going to be a card that you can't collect it because it's not in paper, but we're not going to see it on the list, but it will be available to us to check out as the graphics in just a second. Long Tusk Stalker for 1 mana, a 1/1. Love to see that. It's also a cat. It enters the battlefield, and when it attacks, we get an energy counter. Very cool. We can pay 2 energy counters to give it perpetually +1/+0, and we may choose a creature card in our hand. If we do, that card also gets perpetual +1/+0. Goodness gracious. Don't mind that. Good value there. Pool of Vigorous Growth for 2, an artifact. Pay X, tap it, discard a card, create a token that's a copy of a random creature card with mana value X or less. Activate only as a sorcery. #Momir event, anyone? Say what? Is this a Momir emblem that's in artifact form? I wish it was Momir in the pond. That'd be so sick. Maybe it is. There's that face there. Maybe that is Momir. I just don't know. Holy Toledo's. That's pretty crazy, right? That could get wacky, man. That'd be fun times. Sky Shroud Ambush for 2 instant speed. Target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. And then when a creature you control wins the fight, draw a card. That's actually really good. A fight and a draw. Veteran Charger for 3, 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature card in your hand. It perpetually gets +2/+2. That's actually not bad. Sky Shroud Lookout for 2, 1/1. Elf Archer with Reach. When it enters the battlefield, seek an elf card. That's very good. And then I want to jump down through all of this, which we're going to be going through in the future. Oh my god, there's so many cards to talk about. It's like super duper overwhelming. So we're going to talk about these things, right? The Kraken Hatchling. It's a 1 mana 0/4 Kraken Defender, right? Cool. Shoreline Scout is the Forest Island. Very nice that it fills both of those roles, and you know, just nice Selesnya land there. Tome of the Infinite. It conjures those spells, if we remember that. We're going to have to pull these up, I guess. Swords to Plowshares. Looking all right. You know, for 1 mana, instant speed, exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power, right? And then let me get out of here. Boom, back over here. Light of Hope. So we all know Light of Hope. You know, choose 1, gain 4 life, destroy enchantment, put a +1/+1 counter on creature. Then we have Ponder. Sorcery speed for 1. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Then put them back in any order. You may shuffle, draw a card. It's not the worst, and I'm actually a little bit disappointed so far. Let's see what else we get. Force Spike, counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. All right, kind of weird though, but it is what it is. And moving down, Dark Ritual. Add 3 black for 1. That is about the best thing we've seen so far. Duress, you know, we all know this. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-creature card from it, non-land card from it. They discard that card, right? So instant or sorcery, artifact, enchantment, stuff like this. Lightning Bolt, very groovy. 3 damage to any target for 1. Absolutely beautiful. Assault Strobe, also for 1. Target creature gains double strike until the end of turn. Okay. Is what it is. And then Fog, you know, nullifying or preventing all damage that would be dealt this turn. Really cool. So these are all 1-drops that the Tome of the Infinite lays out for us. Moving on, we have the Boneyard Aberration. You know, it summons these skeletons into our graveyard, if you remember. And of course, you do get 3 of them in your grave, which is pretty cool. It is that 3-headed dog. And it's a 1/1. Return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped for 2 mana, which is pretty cool because you'll have 3 of them. And then the Soul Broker. And, you know, this thing is busted. So, you know, the +1, I believe, was choose an offer and a condition. You have to choose one of each. You're presented 3 at random. Draw 3 cards. Conjure a Guardian card into your hand. You know, Mana Guardian, we'll have to look for that, right? Return 2 random creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. They perpetually get +1/+1. Woof. Return a random creature card with the highest mana value from among creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Omega Wolf. You get an emblem with creatures you control, get +2/+0. You get an emblem with spells you cast, costs 1 black less to cast. Or is it 2? I'm not entirely sure on that. You get an emblem with Davriel Planeswalkers you control, have +2, draw a card. Woof. Like, that +2 is insane. You get an emblem with whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. Most definitely. So the offers are all very, very, very good, right? You definitely want to be taking these offers, but the conditions, you know, these can burn a guy down. You lose 6 life. Exile 2 cards from your hand. If fewer than 2 cards are exiled this way, each opponent draws a card equal to the difference. Sacrifice 2 permanents. Each creature you control, each creature you don't control perpetually gets +1/+1. That's your opponent's creatures, right? You get an emblem with creatures you control, get -1, -0. You get an emblem with spells you cast, cost more to cast. You get an emblem with whenever you draw a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library. Very, very wolf there. And you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each creature you control. Oh, that could be terrifying, right? So very, very crazy stuff. And then we have the Partisan Shroud. When it conjures the following card, you know, we've seen this, the Regal Force. For 7 mana, it's a 5/5. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card for each green creature you control. Holy macaronis. Look at this froggy doos. Oh man, it's just an elemental, but you can tell that is a big ribbit skis right there. That is pretty crazy stuff, right? So that's what we've got for you guys today. You know, we're breaking down just the new digital only cards into Arena, and you can see that we have so many cards to get through as well. You know, we're going to be breaking down Modern Horizon 1s, Modern Horizon 2s, which you guys should be familiar with. It's going to be so quick. I'm just going to like rip through them and like look at the ones that interest me because there are a lot of cards there, right? And then we've got the reprints new to Arena as well, just from like past sets at random, which is a little bit more fun to go through again. And a lot of you are already familiar with Historic Horizons. If you're a Commander player, right? You're playing EDH, that is your jam, right? People have been buying boxes of those like no tomorrow. So, you know, like I've been saying, and I just hope it comes true, right? You know, we're doing the work. We're doing the meditations. New system Arena is going to be running on. Old article says, oh, we can't do two-headed giant. We can't do 4-player brawl or commander because the system doesn't allow it. And then they're like, well, we've got a new system for you guys. I hope you're excited for the future, right? Really cool stuff. And then, you know, my mind puts the two together. And then we're combining that with the Modern Horizons set to Arena. Too many coincidences. I do love patterns. And when things like that line up, it's hard not to pay attention. So really cool stuff. We'll see what the future brings, though. And I'm really looking forward to it. And I've never been more tempted to complete my historic collection than now with the prospect of multiplayer brawl matches. Oh my gosh, that is the coolest thing I've ever thought about. And if you want to make money, Arena, that's how you get us all into historic. Guaranteed. So with that being said, that's today's video, breaking down the new digital only cards into Arena. Again, this update was pushed back from the 12th to the 26th. So we've got some time to still familiarize ourselves with it. It will be a Jumpstart format. So we're doing those events to get the cards that we want. And of course, we'll be getting more in-depth into that and maybe even do a crafting guide, if you will. But because there are so many cards, it might depend on your, you know, your brew. Not every paper Magic player has every EDH deck, right? Like, oh, I've got a Sliver deck. Oh, I've got a Rogue or, you know, an Elf deck, whatever it happens to be, right? So with that out of the way, things are going to get weird, I'm sure of it. Thanks again for watching. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. 35,000 subs, you get the D&D Rare Playset giveaway. Join the Discord. Put your name on that giveaway list so you don't miss out. Link or invite available in the Linktree link description below. You know, become a Patreon today, a YouTube member to get exclusive content, stuff like this. Support the channel if you can, you guys, because we're doing our best. With that out of the way, have a magical day, and we'll see you soon in the next.